I'm convinced that there's one thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to take you downstairs. We're finishing my basement right now. I think the main reason why service businesses can lose a lot of money, and the one biggest factor when it comes to service businesses losing money, having upset clients, is this. Now, before we get started, I want to tell you about something that I'm doing. I'm not going to talk about this often, but I'm taking on clients to do some one-on-one coaching, consulting, mentoring while they launch their business or grow their business. I'm offering one-time call-ins. I'm also offering a package where you can do 2 one-hour calls with me a month, where we go down through your to-do list. I keep you honest. I ask the right questions, make sure you're working on the right things. And then you get unlimited text messages with me all month, where I'll send you a message, check in on some of the checkpoints that we set the previous time we talked, and we go from there. So if you're interested in that, let me know, but let's get to it. So I'm here in my basement. We're finishing this, as you can see behind me. It's coming right along. I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm going to show you something that's a little bit off. And I'm going to tell you about it, how it happened, and how it fits into this theme here of what we're doing. So see that toilet? That toilet is not in the middle between my vanity and my shower. It is very close to the shower, to the point where I'm barely gonna be able to get a shower door on there. Not ideal at all. And the plumber who I had come do this, first of all, I called 5 or 6 plumbers. Most of them would not return my calls. Finally got somebody to come out here. They charged me $600 to install this toilet. And I made it very clear that I needed them to put in an offset flange. An offset flange is something that down here at the base of the toilet, the pipe that's coming out of the ground, it moves that pipe. It's an angled fitting that goes on top of it and moves the toilet over 2 inches. Got an offset flange. So yes, it still would not be in the middle, but it would be 2 inches further away from my shower, which would make a world of difference and would allow me to put the shower door on there just fine, and I wouldn't have any problems. He came out, spoke it over with him, told him how critical it was. He's like, why should we put an offset flange on here? I don't see the reason to do that. And and I said, well, I got to have it on. Like, how much extra do I need to pay you to do it? And he said, okay, that's fine. We'll do it. Well, lo and behold, I'm not here. I'm at the office when they do this install. I didn't follow up by an email. I didn't ask them to send me an itemized item. He just came out, he did the work, come down here, no offset flange. And I was super frustrated, and I was nice to the guy because I know how it is. I run a small business, but I called him up. I was like, Jason, what happened? What happened? You didn't put the offset flange on. He goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like my crew went out there, and I guess I forgot to tell them exactly what to do, and they didn't install it. And this is what happens all the time. And the number one reason why service businesses can get unhappy customers or lose a bunch of money by having to come back and redo this. I'm not going to make them come back and do this because it would involve cutting it off, pulling the toilet out, refitting the pipe with going down, cutting it off again, refitting it, doing a bunch of jackhammering. So anyway, the number one reason why service businesses lose money, and this is what I'm getting at here, is miscommunications, communication skills. And that's a classic example of a contractor that came out here, looked at it, had a conversation with me, probably went and bid 4 more jobs, came to see me a week and a half later, and it just got lost in the shuffle, and his guys did not put the offset flange on. This happens all the time. It happens in my business. It happens in tons and tons of service businesses, and I'm going to talk about a couple things that you can do to become a better communicator to save yourself a ton of money. So number one is an email follow-up after everything that you talk about. And this is not only in small business, not only in dealing with clients, but in everything. I mean, how many times have I been on a conference call? This happens to me a lot. I'm on a conference call with somebody. I'm meeting somebody about a new deal. I'm meeting with my attorney. I'm meeting with a realtor, a broker, an owner of another storage property about how a deal is going to work. And we talk through all the details and we think we have everything ironed out. Then I send a follow-up email and I'm said, Hey, this is exactly what we spoke about. You're going to do this, 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 and this, and I am going to do that, 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 and that. The price is going to be this. The terms are going to be this, this, and this. This is exactly what we spoke about. Please email me back and confirm. And the email comes back and says, oh, that's not at all what I heard from that conversation. I'm not going to do this. You're going to do that. And there's a disagreement. So imagine what would happen if you are doing something important. And I'm going to show you a perfect example of how bad this can really get and where it is the most critical. Right here. If you're watching the video on YouTube, look behind me. That's a brand new house being built. There's another 2 new houses right here. Now, a general contractor who just came on the last episode of the podcast and in the last video, if you watch these on YouTube, a general contractor oversees that house being built, or maybe the builder does it if he's not necessarily a GC. But his job is to deal with about 20 different contractors that come in. You're talking about the demolition, the earthwork, the concrete work, the framing, the electrical, the plumbing, the painting, the gutters, the roofing, the drywall, the insulation. There are many, many different companies working in there. And if you don't have a very, very specific way to communicate things and make it very clear to everybody exactly what's expected of everybody else, you're going to have huge problems. Just this house right here, the one that's actually a little bit more closer to being finished. If you can see it, see if I can get it to focus. Yeah, this one right there. That one, they cut the door in the wrong spot. The door was hanging about 3 feet off of the concrete slab. So is it the framer or is it the concrete guy that made the mistake? I don't know, but I'm sure somebody miscommunicated with somebody else. So now let's talk about what you can do. The first thing you can do is follow up with everything that you talk about with a customer, with an employee, with a coworker, anybody that you're working with. Follow up with a conversation. Follow up to every conversation with an email. Okay, it sounds so silly. But when you're talking about who does what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to meet there, we're going to do this together. Your job is this, my job is that, we're going to pay this, we're going to pay this at this time, we're going to pay it on these terms. All of that stuff needs to be written down and agreed to by email. So then you, as a business owner, as a project manager, as a customer, can have something to point towards when something doesn't happen the way you want it to happen, instead of just saying, oh, he said this, she said that. Okay? So if you put it in an email, if you get off the conference call, if you get off the Zoom meeting and your team is about to break and about to get to work, send a quick follow-up. Hey, this is what I heard during this meeting. This is what you're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Boom, email it out and done. That is going to save you thousands of dollars. And if you're in the construction business and if you own your own business, it's going to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, because you're not going to have miscommunications like putting a toilet in the wrong spot, putting a door in the wrong spot. I mean, this happens all the time. So Another thing about communications here is to keep it incredibly simple. So many people complicate things and expect way too much out of people. I am a huge, that happens to me all the time. I'm a huge offender when it comes to overcomplicating things. The logistics of during coronavirus, when I was up in Ithaca and we were doing the student storage stuff, the logistics of having 3 crews picking up students' items out of 3 dorms at one time, and they all got to have their own set of keys. They all got to park in the right location. They all got to know how to get access to it. They got to have the truck there. They got to have the dollies. Got to get everybody lunch. We got to get everybody water. We have to give everybody all the tools that they need to go down and get this stuff from the dorms to the truck. And one day, the crews just went to the entire wrong place, and one truck didn't have any dollies on it. I had to drive 20 minutes. The whole crew of 6 people had to just sit there and wait while somebody drove the truck 20 minutes to the warehouse and got 15 dollies and drove all the way back. Okay, that is an hour of wasted time, added stress for everybody. And when you have 6 people for an hour, each making $20 an hour, that's $150 of wasted time right out the window if you count the gas and the truck miles and everything to get out there. So keeping it incredibly simple and communicating a simple job to everybody is so much easier than overcomplicating it and asking people to be good at 20 different things. Okay, employees can only do 5 things well. If they have more than 5 jobs, they're going to do everything poorly. And that's nothing against an employee, nothing against a specific type of person. It is a fact. So people like to have a simple, easy to achieve, laid out job without a bunch of questions. And you as a boss, you don't want to be getting those questions anyway. So you can follow up with an email, and you can simplify it, and you can keep things super simple for your employees or your customers. Another thing you can do is work on setting expectations. Okay, miscommunications happen when expectations are not properly met. If you're remodeling somebody's house, if you're mowing somebody's lawn, if you're putting drywall on somebody's house, you have to clearly lay out the expected timeline and the expected scope of work. Okay, and you got to talk about the worst case scenario right off the bat. Far too many people are in sales mode and they get really good at telling people what they want to hear. And if you are the type of person that tells people what they want to hear, you are going to be stressed out, because delivering on that stuff and not talking about the risk factors, not talking about things that can make the job more expensive, not talking about things that can slow it down, not talking about those and laying them out in an email up front. And when you're talking to somebody in their home, when you're trying to sell a job or whatever, that can be just a recipe for disaster and a recipe for upset customers and upset employees. So I always talk about the worst case first off. I always talk about the risk factors first, and I always try to keep it as simple as possible. And I follow up with every important conversation with an email, and those things help me effectively communicate 10 times better than early on in my career when I was just trying to have phone conversations with people to get them to do what I needed them to do and to outline what was expected of them. So miscommunications and poor communication cost service businesses millions of dollars every single year. It's a huge problem when people do things incorrectly, when expectations aren't set, and when things aren't simple and deliverable. So when you communicate, keep that stuff in mind and don't let it happen to you.